Welcome, my name is Pamela Kearns of Peyote Dreams Jewelry Designs, back with another edition of left-handed beading instructions. Today, we're going to take a look at how to do spiral rope. So what is spiral rope? Well, this is the basic spiral rope. You'll see that it has a core bead. In this case, it is turquoise, and outside beads are orange, yellow, and red. And it creates a really nice solid rope that is nice and strong. These are using size 8 seed beads. However, you can use a lot of different beads, and the beauty of spiral rope is that just by changing the bead, you completely change the look. So here's another one. These are using Drux, purely round beads with some size 8s. And of course you can include focal beads, whether it's in a necklace or a bracelet. You can also use, these are fire polish. And yes, using 8s, and you don't have to use 8s. So for example, here is one that I've incorporated 8s and 11s. And incorporated stones at, all equidistant to one another. So there's a lot that you can do with spiral rope. Now, for this demonstration, I am going to use size 8 seed beads. Ideally, you want to use Toho or Miyuki, something that is consistent in size and shape. I also, for thread, I use Fireline. The reason I use Fireline is because you're going through the core beads several times. In fact, up to 3 and 4 times. So spiral rope consists of, as I mentioned before, a core and outside beads. So, and as you stitch, you're going to see it begin to spiral around. So for today's demonstration, I'm just going to use a fairly short length of Fireline. This is 6-pound crystal. I'm using crystal because I'm using lighter color beads. So my core for this demonstration is going to be gold. And my 3 outside colors are going to be opaque, a yellow, sort of a milky silver lined or gold lined bead, as well as sort of a Ceylon bead. So 3 different shades of yellow and gold for the core. To get started, I'm going to pick up 4 gold beads. Okay, so I'm going to take them down. I'm going to leave enough here that I can hold on to. And I'm going to hold my beads like this. So my outside beads, my pattern are the 3 shades of yellow, one after the other. And to do this, my tail is in my non-dominant hand here at the bottom. My working thread is at the top. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top and just pull through. So what I have is sort of looks like a D with my 4 cores and my 3 outside beads. I'm going to turn it so that I again see my core beads. Okay, so now for the next stitch and all other subsequent stitches, I'm going to do 1 core and 1 each of the outside beads in pattern. And this time, I'm just going to go through the top 3 beads. Before I went through all 4, this time it's the top 3. Pull through. Now, you have to pull it around against the other thread, and you always have to pull to the same side. I tend to pull around so my forefinger is resting against the new set of beads. I also need to step in now, or step up, by going through that core bead I just added from the center out. So let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see a little bit better of what's happening. So there's my first 2 stitches, and you can see the second stitch, which is the one on the top, is just a little bit higher in direction than the first one, and that's exactly what we want. So let's do this again. 1 core, my 3 outside yellow beads in the same orders I've been doing them. Stitch through the top 3 beads, and pull through. Pull around to one side, always the same side, and stitch through that core bead I've just added from the inside out. One of the mistakes a lot of people make is that they stitch from the outside in. In other words, they're going in this direction. You don't want to do that. Always go from the core out. The other thing that people do is they don't line up the beads. They sort of get them all over. And that's where you see it does not spiral properly. So let's do this a few more times. All 3 beads on the outside plus my core. Hold it so I can see where the core beads are. And stitch through always the top 3. Pull through and step up by going through that core bead from the center out. And we're just going to keep doing this for a while. Okay, now if you happen to make a mistake at some point, say you picked up an extra bead along the way and didn't notice it until you pulled through and ready to stitch, and it's like, oops, I did something here. Well, fortunately, spiral rope is easy to undo. Take your needle off and just pull that last set of beads out. Okay, so there, that's fixed. Let me just rethread my needle here. Some people needle their thread. I thread the needle. And of course, now that I'm on TV or on a video, it's going to, oh, that's my budgie in the background there. Okay, usually I can do this on the first pass, but because I have an audience, it's not going to work. There we go. So let's do that last stitch again. So my core and my 3 outside beads in order. Okay, there we are. And again, top 3 beads only. There we go. Pull around and stitch through that core bead, which steps you up into the next, ready to go. So you ever have days when the words just disappear on you? It happens to me all the time, it seems. Okay. And you're just going to continue to do that until you get the length you want. Now, to finish this, what I'm going to do, what I can do is continue using my working thread. I'm going to unthread the working thread and use the tail to create a loop. And I use a loop as opposed to stitching the beads or the clasp on directly. The reason I do that is partly for aesthetics. Also, if I ever wanted to change the clasp, I don't have to unstitch it. I just simply have to undo the jump rings. And of course, when you're working out your size, you have to allow for that difference of the loop and the size of your clasp. So, as I say, I create a loop. It doesn't have to be this big. It can be much smaller. Let me see if the white one, let's see. Yeah, so this one, as you can see, is much smaller. It's also using smaller beads. This is using a size 10 Delica bead. I use Delica beads if I want a smaller core because the holes proportionally are so big and they allow multiple passes of your thread. So let's pretend we've got a whole nice long piece here. I'm going to now pick up more of the core beads, and I always pick up an odd number. So there's 3, 4, 5. You can make this core loop as big as you want. Okay, so there is my loop. I'm going to now go through this loop one more time. It is a stress point. There, and I'm going to go through it a third time. Fire line is not easy to break. However, it will wear, and better to be safe than sorry. And if that just means going around an extra time, why not? Okay, so I've come there. I'm going through the 5th bead that I had created in the loop. Now to finish this, I'm going to bury the thread and knot it every so often. So I'm now going to go back into the core beads and just go through a couple. And okay, as you're stitching, you'll notice that the thread is coming out between the core and the outside beads. This is where we're going to create our half hitch knots. I don't create them in the core itself because I don't want to block the core with knots. So I'm going under the thread that is coming out between the core and the outside beads in this stitch. And I've got a little bit too big of a tail there. Let's just pull this down a little bit. Okay, let's try this again. Going under the thread. Come on, we have an audience. Behave. There, under the thread. And before it pulls all the way through, I'm going to go through this loop again. And that creates a half hitch knot. Again, let's go through another core bead. And find the thread that's going under between these 2 beads. There I am. So again, going under the thread before the loop closes, I'm going through that loop one more time. Let's do it one more time. Through that core bead, look for the loop or the thread that's going between there. And before it pulls through, so I've just done 3 half hitch knots. Now, I don't like to cut my thread where the knots are. I mean, I've done all the knots. How come I don't really want them to come undone? So I've gone through a couple more core beads away from the knot. And at this point, I can cut this. Now, to cut fire line, just add a little bit of tension to it. There. Okay, and then this little piece can be discarded. And I can continue, just as I was doing, to create my length, whether I do it for a bracelet or for a necklace or anything else. Now, as I said, you can do so much with this. I want to show you something I'm working on. Let me just set this aside and bring in my another bead on it board down so that you can see. And let me just adjust this and zoom out a little bit. Okay. So this is a piece of spiral rope that I'm working on now. This is the part where I'm working, and it's to go with this gorgeous piece of chrysocolla. Let me turn this around so you can see it better. Okay, it's a beautiful piece. This side is done. I have not added the loop at the here yet. I will, but it is using outside beads of. Let's see. I've got a bit of a mess here. My core bead is a size. Zoom in. So my core bead is a size 10 delica. My outside beads. Actually, here. Let me just do this so you can actually see me do a stitch. Core. And my outside beads is a 15, an 11, an 8, another 11, and another 15. And you can mix up your colors. You don't have to make it symmetrical. So I am now going through the top 3. The top 3 of the core beads here. Come on, focus. There we go. Pull through, pull it to the side, and through the core. So there is so much you can do. And what's nice about spiral rope is that you can start in the middle, and which gives you a lot of design opportunities, and especially for sizing. So as I say, you can start in the middle, pick up focal beads. I like to secure them by going back and forth a couple of times. There. I will continue working on this until I get the full rope done, and then I will add the beads or add the loops. Of course, you will do loops at both ends because you're going to be needing to attach your toggle or your whatever clasp you're doing at both ends as well. So let's see, if we go back to this one, you can easily see that the toggle, in this case, a toggle is firmly attached by jump rings to both ends. Okay, so that is basic spiral rope. Play with your beads, play with the shapes of your beads. You can also do this with 2-hole beads. And I'll do a video eventually about spiral rope, sort of spiraling it up a little higher. And as I say, there's a lot that you can do about, a lot you can do with this. It is a supple rope. It has a beautiful drape to it, and it's strong. Okay, so the beads I get, by the way, I get them from Bead Effects, which is my local bead shop here in Toronto. They have a huge range of Miyuki and Toho seed beads in all kinds of sizes, as well as, you know, good supply of Fireline in both smoke and crystal, and a whole lot of knowledgeable people. And they do have classes, which I'm proud to say that I do teach there. So I'd love to hear your comments. Please share my videos with any other left-handed instructors and students that you know of. I am planning a series of peyote stitches and peyote videos. And anyways, thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you. All the best.